last week, the word was definitely not recession. That word is now inoperative. It's obsolete, and frankly, it's embarrassing. It's like stewardess or fireman or the Orient. It's not something you'd say around educated people. So to herald this important new change to our language, on July 21st, the White House officially changed the definition of recession. They said it, so it's true now. In a blog post, officials explained that 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP is, quote, neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. Not convinced? Well, you're not watching television, because every official in the Biden administration, all these credentialed economists, went on camera to swear it was true.
I do want to emphasize what a recession really means is a broad-based contraction in the economy. And even if that number is negative, we are not in a recession now.
And certainly in terms of the technical definition, it's not a recession. The technical definition considers a much broader spectrum of data points.
The idea that 2 quarters of negative GDP growth is a technical definition of a recession is wrong.
If things are going so great, though, then why is it the White House officials are trying to redefine recession?
No, we're not redefining recession.
If we all understand a recession to be 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth in a row, and then you have White House officials come up here to say, no, that's not what a recession is. It's something else. How is that not redefining recession?
Because that's not the definition.
Okay, so ignore the tape of Jenny Elm. We shouldn't have played that. It's hard to think clearly. Ignore how mind-bogglingly repulsive she is. Ignore all the work she's done herself to destroy the American economy when she ran the Federal Reserve. Listen to what they're saying. 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. That's not the definition of a recession. Really? We thought it was. We thought that for about 50 years. No. Turns out we're insane. We're hallucinating. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds stuff. And the media have confirmed it. This is from Politico. Quote, the White House is pretty obviously right that even 2 quarters of shrinking GDP would not show the economy is currently in recession. That's the word from Ben White, who is the chief economics reporter at Politico. And he's backed up by the Associated Press, which is totally real. Just today, the AP reported that, quote, the U.S. economy shrank for a second straight quarter, raising fears that the nation may be approaching a recession. Oh, we're getting close now. In other words, 2 declining quarters of growth is not a recession, just like the White House said. And that sounds definitive. It's always been that way, as long as you don't have a memory that extends past, say, last week, because it was just a few weeks ago, before the White House declared otherwise, that everyone was saying differently, including Ben White and the AP. They were still using the term stewardess. They were using the old definition. Want examples? Okay, how about this? June 22nd of this year. This same Ben White, assuming he's real, wrote in Politico, which unfortunately is, and we're quoting, I'm sorry to report that the conditions are ripe for a slide in gross domestic product growth that lasts at least 2 quarters, comma, the technical definition of recession. Ooh, Ben White. Could that be the same Ben White, the same Politico? Could be. And then in January of this year, which is 2022, we think, the AP reported the same thing. And we're quoting, Mexico's economy entered a technical recession at the end of last year with 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. Oh, wow. So it turns out that was the definition prior to 2 weeks ago. In fact, it's been the definition for decades. In fact, you'll find it in every economic textbook ever written. It's all over the archives, the AP, which, because we're paid to do it, we slog through today. Here's one example. Quote, French economy falls back into recession, the AP reported back in 2013. Here's a direct quote from the article. A recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Whoa! Whoa! You're not insane! No one dosed you! You're not hallucinating. Even CNN used to say this. As CNN White House correspondent John Harwood wrote on August 20th, 2019, back during Trump when Big Orange ran things, and we're quoting, recession equals economy shrinks for 2 quarters. Oh, wow. In fact, not to belabor the point, even Brian Deese, who is now the top White House economic advisor, used to run with that definition, and we're quoting, economists have a technical definition of recession, which is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. He wrote that back in 2008. Unfortunately for him, we found it. And yet this week, everything's different because you can't say stewardess anymore. So Deese's new position is, quote, 2 negative quarters of GDP growth is not the technical definition of recession. Wow. Okay, if you say so, because in the beginning was the word, you are God now. But that does raise the question, if it's not a recession, then what is it? Well, for this and all other important matters, including intimate marital questions, we go to the White House press secretary, who informs us it's not a recession, it's, quote, a transition.
When you look at it more broadly at the data, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing is that we are in a transition.
We're in a transition? Does that mean the whole country's now taking puberty blockers and becoming a girl? No, different kind of transition.